Okay, good evening, everyone. Hello.
Good evening, ma'am.
Right, okay. In our class, how many are there? I think more than this, Kayla. We have about 20?
31.
Yeah, 31. It's only 9 students yet. We will give them another 1 or 2 minutes, right? There are 31 of you, no?
Yeah.
Are you in a WhatsApp group?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you drop a message?
Okay.
Right. And this is our second session, the third session.
Second.
session, ma'am.
Second session, right. Okay. Yes. Good evening, Shafiq. Yes, good evening, Shafiq. Okay. Now, let me open my. Okay. Now there are about 15, so we can start. Educational technology, right? So you can see the Word document I'm sharing, right? So hopefully that day in the first session, I spoke to you about what is educational technology. So the software and the hardware approaches to educational technology. So after that, we looked at that everything that is incorporated into learning and teaching is educational technology. So technology for education and technology of education. So we are in technology of education. Okay, then we have this concept of approaches, methods, techniques, and strategies. So we looked at the interconnected nature of approaches, methods, techniques, and strategies, right? And then we looked at what are the two main approaches to teaching. Do you remember? Did we discuss them? The two main approaches to teaching as teacher-centered approach and student-centered? I want your feedback. Did we discuss like that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Discussed.
Yeah. Then after that, we looked at some other approaches like banking approach, content approach, and all that, and we put them into one of those. Basically, they are into teacher-centered or student-centered. Then we looked at, we all knew that the methods we select to actually do the lesson, it actually is connected to the approach that we actually select. So if we select teacher-centered, basically we will be using two main methods. What are they? Teacher-centered, two main methods in teacher-centered approach.
Lecture method and demonstration.
Very good. So we discussed lecture method and learned how it can be actually upgraded to an effective lecture method by incorporating discussions, by providing examples, using clear language, by using charts and maps, and sticking to one topic only, like that, creating comparisons, question and answer sessions. You can add these elements, Kela. How to actually upgrade the traditional lecture method to make it more effective, because we sometimes use lecture method when we have large classes, large class, when we have time restraints, when we have less facilities, when we have very difficult content to teach. We still use lecture method, no? Right. So if we are using the lecture method, then we have to actually make it more effective by adding these elements. That is what we discussed. Then we looked at demonstration as a method used in teacher-centered approach. So they are also show and tell method, right? Demonstration, show and tell method. They are also, you can see all the features, characteristics of teacher-centered. Students are passive, they watch and learn like that. And if you are using demonstration method, we looked at how to conduct it. Make sure all students can see and hear, observe all safety rules, keep eye contact, and encourage the class to ask questions, explain why and how, use the techniques of show and tell, use a summary to strengthen your explanation. So we have reasons for using demonstration method. For example, it's a science class, lack of facilities or large class. Because of that, you can't get them to do the experiments on their own. So you go in front of the class and show it and the students watch it. So still we are using due to different factors. Then after that, I stopped or I started with something else, the scientific method. Did I start the scientific method with you?
Yeah, ma'am. We started and we went through those 6 steps in
Very
scientific
good.
methods.
Yeah, very good. What are the 6 steps of scientific method then?
First, identifying the problem, then research, hypothesis, and fourth, testing the hypothesis, result, and finally conclusion.
Very good. That was who answered that question?
Shakira Nias, ma'am.
Yeah, very good, Shakira. You're very good. So you remember the steps of scientific method. First is you get them to be inquisitive and identify a problem. And then they have to research. They have to talk to people. They have to read books. They have to read magazines. And they can get information from other people. And they actually get to know more about the problem, right? And then step 3 are based on what is read and understood and the knowledge gathered. They formulated a hypothesis. Hypothesis is a tentative statement. It is not proved yet. A tentative statement. It is not proved yet. So you are going to prove, do, and then step 4 is doing an experiment. So you formulate a hypothesis and you try to prove it, right? This time the harvest is not good because there were no rain. There was no enough rain. So you want to actually do an experiment and see to prove this hypothesis. So you know the requisites for the plant to grow: sunlight, water, and fertilizer. So you use 3 plants of the same size and equal sunlight, equal fertilizer, but you give different amounts of water and see whether there is a difference made. So then at the end of the day, after the experiment is conducted and the time has come to give you the fruits, then you can see the plant that you actually gave little water actually has not grown well and has not given you fruits as well, like the others. Like that, you can actually, then your hypothesis is proved. That is analysis of your data and coming to conclusions, right? So that is scientific method. So from the very small grades, even in the primary, that you can think of actually getting your students to engage in this process of scientific method, because it will get them to become 21st century learner. They will develop their 21st century skills. The 4 C's of 21st century. What are the 4 C's of 21st century? Creativity, cooperation, critical thinking, and communication. So if the learners engage in this kind of activities, if the teacher organizes this kind of learning activities using scientific methods, the students get the opportunity actually to develop this critical thinking ability in them, right? Okay, a must. So complete the grid killer activity 5. Here I have some bullets and I have the 7 steps of the scientific method. An observation is made, a problem is defined or question is asked, a hypothesis is proposed, a control experiment is set up, data is collected and analyzed, conclusions are made, and process is repeated to verify results. That is how the scientific method is conducted. So you can match this with. Can you look at this and see what is the first one? That is an observation is made. Did we do this last time?
No, ma'am.
All right. So
No,
read
ma'am.
this and see. A problem is identified. What is the problem identified here? A problem is identified.
Why did
Raspberry
the
did not grow
raspberries
this
not
year.
grow well this year?
Grow this year.
Why කියලා හැවුවොත්ින්
Raspberries
No,
did not
the
grow
question
well
is
this year.
raspberries did not grow well this year.
raspberries did not grow well
Grow
this year.
well
That is
this
the
year.
problem. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Then you know the second one, a problem is defined or a question is asked. And you can get, what is it? Why did the raspberries not grow well this
Did not grow
year?
well because
Well
we
this
did
year.
not get much rain.
ඒක එන්න බෑ. ඒක අපි අන්තිමට කියවල ඉවර වෙලානේ. දැන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් මතු කරගන්න ඕනේ. මොකක්ද එතකොට? Why did the raspberries did not
Grow well this year.
grow well this year?
Yes.
All right. Notice problem එකක් notice කරා the raspberries did not grow well. So ඊළඟට ප්‍රශ්නයක් මතු කරගත්තා why did. ඒකට තමයි research කරන්නේ. හොයලා බලන්නේ. තේරුණා නේද? ඊට පස්සේ hypothesis is proposed. Why did the raspberries not grow well කියලා ඔයක්වත් මිනිස්සුන්ට කතා කරනවා, පොත් කියවනවා, කරුණු තෝරගන්නවා. why කියලා හොයන්න. ඊළඟට මොකක්ද එන්නේ? Formulate a hypothesis. What is the hypothesis?
Since the raspberries plant receiving 1 cup of water daily grew to half in diameter and
That is
was
the
receiving
that is the analysis, na?
Raspberry plants are placed in moderately lit areas, all receiving
All same amount of light each day. Each plant will receive different amount of water. The size
No,
of
this
the
is the hypothesis. දැන් අපි කරුණු රැස් කරගත්තනේ. කරුණු රත් කරාට පස්සේ අපි කරන්නේ hypothesis එකක් form කරනවා. ඇයි raspberries හරියට වැඩුන්නේ නැත්තේ කියලා. So why did the raspberries not grow well this year? You research. Second step. Ask people, read and all that. ඒවෙන් කරුණු තොරතුරු කරගලා you form a hypothesis. A hypothesis එක කියනවා raspberries did not grow well because we did not get much rain. That is the hypothesis. Am I right?
yes, ma'am.
එහෙනම් ඒක තමයි third එක. Hypothesis is proposed. A tentative statement. කරුණු හොයලා ඉවර වෙලා කියනවා why කියන එකට පොත්පත් කියවලා හොයලා බලලා එයා hypothesis එකක් tentative statement එකක් නිර්මාණය කරනවා. The raspberries did not grow well because we did not get much water. Right. ඒක දැන් එහෙනම් ඊළඟට මොකද කරන්නේ? You have to carry out an experiment to see whether the hypothesis is proved or not. එහෙනම් මොකද්ද? Experiment එක. Raspberry plants are placed in moderately lit areas, all receiving the same amount of light each day. Each plant will receive different amount of water. The size of the berries will be recorded daily once the plants begin to produce berries. Okay, tamai experiment එක. So after formulating the hypothesis, a control experiment is set up. Control කියලා කියන්නේ variables තියෙනවා. එකක් තමයි sunlight. අනිත් එක තමයි water. ඒතර water වෙනස් කරනවා, sunlight control කරනවා. නැත්තම් හොයලා බලන්න බෑ water වලින් බලපෑමක් වෙනවද කියලා. Right? Data is collected and analyzed. What is the data collected and analyzed? The raspberry plants receiving 1 cup of daily grew to half an inch in diameter, and those receiving the 2 cups of water grew to 3/4 in diameter. That is, what is it? Analyzing data. Data collected and analyzed. Conclusions are made. What is the conclusion made then? What is the conclusion?
The raspberry plants receiving the most water grew the biggest.
Right. Very good. Therefore, the hypothesis is supported that this year's raspberry did not get enough rain. So the last step would be process is repeated to verify results. සාමාන්‍ය එක නැවත නැවත කරලා බලනවා ඒක ඇත්තද කියලා. එන repeat experiment. So this is very kind of, even in the classroom, you can actually get the students to identify problems, then research, why කියලා හොයන්න, ඊළඟට form a hypothesis based educated guess කියලා අපි hypothesis එකකට කියන්නේ. Why do you call it educated guess? You are not going to guess නිකන්. You are going to read, you are going to collect information, and then only that you are actually guessing it. So it's an educated guess. So you formulate a hypothesis. And then you have to actually design an experiment to carry out to test the hypothesis. And then you have to collect data and analyze. And then you have to actually come to conclusions, see whether the hypothesis is proved or not. And you have to actually repeat the experiment. That is how the scientific method is conducted. It's not only in science class, it's not only in environmental studies, right? Even as a teacher, now you are teachers, most of you all are teachers. You can conduct this scientific method in the class, that you identify a problem. Your problem is there are some students, those who are not actually good in their writing skills. So that's the problem identified. So now you research, you read books, you speak to other teachers, you speak to students and see why they find writing difficult. Then ultimately, after collecting all the information, you can see writing can be difficult due to varied factors, like they don't know their grammar, they don't know their vocabulary, like that. But you read literature, and then you learn there can be varied reasons, and then you speak to your students. The students actually say that they don't know their grammar. So then the third step, you're formulating a hypothesis. The hypothesis would be development of grammar, right? Teaching grammar facilitates writing skill development. Teaching of grammar facilitates writing skill development. That is the hypothesis you form. So now that you actually get the learners to, you teach them grammar for some time, right? You teach grammar for some time. And then after some time, after teaching grammar for some time, you give them a writing test and see whether their writing has improved. If their writing has improved as a result of your teaching of grammar separately, then your hypothesis is proved. Now, after teaching grammar for some time, still their writing is poor. So you give marks and analyze. Still it's poor. Then you can actually formulate another hypothesis and see whether it is vocabulary or something that affects, and going into other cycles. That is how it's applied. And that mindset should be given to your students as well from the early stages of learning. That is 21st century education. Do you get that? Do you get that?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, okay. So can you think of an example? Can you think of an example, a classroom example that you can see scientific method can be used, Kiela? Can you just think? Is it possible? Hmm? Any subject that you teach, you get the students to actually engage, use the scientific method? Can you think of? Think in terms of your subject. Can you? That is the mind, that ability that you should have, no? Can you? Samane, I have seen this Mungeta and all that is used, and teachers get the students to do experiments. Hmm? Right, okay. Now, observation එකක් තියෙනවා. They see. Student notice that their classmates who eat breakfast seem more alert and focused during morning classes compared to those who skip breakfast. Okay, now you can see there are students, those who come with breakfast after having breakfast and those who skip breakfast. Then you want to actually see whether there is a truth in that. Those who do not eat breakfast, they actually are very lethargic. So you have to actually form a hypothesis after reading literature, asking people, does it affect, right? Then eating breakfast, that is the hypothesis. Eating breakfast enhances energy, learning ability, attention, and maybe focus and active nature of the students. So now actually you can actually conduct an experiment. What kind of an experiment? That you can actually get the students to have breakfast. You make it a must. You all have to bring breakfast and you give 10 minutes from your first period for them to have breakfast. And then, after 2-3 months that you can see, you can have observation schedules to collect information. They are actually better. They are very active. They are involved. They are focused on their lesson. So your hypothesis is proved because your schedule says they are now actually more attentive, more active in the class. So your hypothesis is proved, something like that. So you can actually think photosynthesis. Not each and every lesson can be taught using scientific method, but look for the possibilities. Look for the possibilities. Okay, right. Then we will go to talk about, did I discuss the Dale's cone of learning? Did I discuss Dale's cone of learning model?
No, ma'am.
No. Then I'm going to actually now talk to you about Dale's cone of experience. Right? Dale's cone of experience is actually based on the design that what you hear, what you read, what you see, what is heard, what is read, and what is observed. Okay? They do not actually, you do not remember it much. You are listening, you are watching, right? You're reading. You're not going to remember or learn it a lot. But if you actually are doing it, right? If you are to do it, you will remember that. That is the basis of Dale's corner learning. But for that, I can actually show you the diagram that the Edgar Dales uses. Okay? Edgar Dale learning and remembering image. We will look at an image. Okay, now here I'll show you this. It cannot be opened by that. Right. Now I'm sharing it with you. Edgar Dale. Share. Right. Now you can see I'm sharing it. You can see, no? Now this is Edgar Dale's cone of learning. If you look at Edgar Dale's cone of learning, after doing research only he proposes this. Do you see the image?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yes,
Now you
ma'am.
can see when you teach, right? If you get them to read, they will remember, they will learn only 10% of what they read. But if you look at the classrooms today, most of the time you get the students to read and learn. But according to Edgar Dale, if you get your students to read and learn, they will remember only 10% of what they read. Okay? Now, if you get them to hear, that means you're going to explain. You're going to talk. The teacher is talking. The students are listening and they hear. Much of the lessons are like that in the schools, right? Adult education is different anyway. In schools, how much is learned? Only 20% of what they hear. 80% is not learned. Waste, am I right? Then look at 30% of what they see. If you get them to see something, visuals, videos and all that, exhibition, videos, එක දෙකක් තියෙනවා. Weave images like still pictures. Like, අපි කියන්නේ visual එකක් and all that. Map එකක් and all that, weave images. Watch videos. Both can be taken as seeing. Only 30% of what they see. So you can see most of our classrooms in school, actually teachers get the students to read, hear, weave images and watch videos. Yes or no? Do you agree or you don't agree with that? What do you think? Is it true or it's not true? Most of the learning and teaching is through getting the students to read, hear and see. එක හරිද වැරදිද කියලා මං අහන්නේ ඔයාලගේ.
Yeah, it's true, ma'am.
Yeah. But according to Edgar Gale, it's very limited learning. Waste of time, no? Then look at this. Attend exhibitions and sites. Watch a demonstration. What they see and hear. They see and hear, both happens. As in attending exhibitions, sites and watching a demonstration. 50% of learning can happen, right? See and hear, both are combined. 50% of learning can happen. But if you look at this, say and write, speak and write, participate in hands-on workshops, design collaborative lessons. So they say and write 70% of what they have learned, 70% of learning, right? And if you get them to do something in the class, 90% of learn. So what, you want them to learn less or you want them to learn more? And if you really want your students to learn more, what you're supposed to get them to do, you're supposed to get them to do it, say it and write, rather than just see and hear and read. Okay, that is what Edgar Dale's talk about in Dale's Corner of Learning and Remembering. Okay, so how can you get the students to do something? Simulate, model, experience a lesson, design, perform a presentation, do the real thing. And some teachers get the students to read the lesson and come and teach. They teach it to the fellow students. That is, you do, getting them to do. Sometimes they come and act out a drama. You get them to do. But yes, now remembering is very high when to the latter part. Get them to say, write and do. But which is, why do we all the time get them to read, hear and see, not get them to write, say and do? Because of vast content, large classes, lack of resources, they are time consuming. The large class guide present when you have a large class. Likewise, you have practical issues. But as a teacher, you have to be mindful. You have to actually strike a balance between the type of activities that you do in the class. And always keep in mind, though time consuming, though difficult to carry out, it's always good to get the students to do something, say and write something. It leads to more learning. Okay, Okay,
madam.
right. Okay, now I get you to look at another one. Let me open. Right. Okay, this here. Jigsaw activity. Jigsaw activity. Before jigsaw, I think I can teach you flipped classroom. Okay. Another method. This is another method. Can you see the slides? No. It's not been shared. Let me open. Right. Now here, this is another method that you can use to teach in the class. What is that method I have put here?
Flipped method.
Flipped method. Okay. And flipped method is actually very much used in the modern classroom. Okay. Flipped method is very much used in the modern classroom. So let's see what this flipped method is. So definitely flipped method is grounded on constructivism, student-centered approach to teaching. Okay, flipped method, as we discussed the scientific method, flipped method is also grounded on the constructivist theory. That means student-centered method. It's a student-centered method. Right, let's see what is this flipped method is. Now you can see, look at the traditional classroom is flipped. Is actually traditional classroom is turned upside down. So what is the traditional classroom we are talking about? How it is actually set up and down, right? Up again, topsy-turvy. It's gone topsy-turvy, right? Let's see. Now we have to look at the traditional classroom then. Now in the traditional classroom, look at the traditional classroom here. This one, okay? In the traditional classroom, how do you get the learners to learn? Now look at the traditional classroom. You have to teach a lesson. So you actually get the students to come to class, open the book. You will actually explain all the facts in the book and get them to understand and remember and then apply. Suppose that you are an English teacher, you get them to come to school, you teach them the simple present tense and give them some activities to practice and give them activities to go home and do, right? Using simple present tense, write an essay on your hobbies.
වටේම විනාශ කරන්න.
Right? So we do the lower order thinking activities and higher order thinking activities. Lower order thinking activities, lot, right? Higher order thinking activities, hot. Look at this. What are lower order thinking activities? Just remembering, understanding, and applying. Right? You explain things. Now, suppose it's a kind of a history lesson. In the class, you teach them about the king and his great works. That is just knowing the fact, understanding, and remembering. They are all lower order thinking. But you give them homework, go and write an essay on King Datusena and his great work. That is analyzing, evaluating, and creating its higher order. In the traditional classroom, we first do lot activities, lower order thinking activities in the class with the teacher. And after doing lot activities in the class with the teacher, you give some homework, which are higher order thinking, a little bit higher activities for them to do it on their own at home. That is how the traditional classroom works. Is it clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. But in the flipped method, this traditional classroom is sent up and upside down. It is flipped. How does it flip? How is it flipped? Right. This is how it is flipped. You get them to do lower order activities, remembering, understanding, and applying. That is lower order activities at home before coming to class. At home before coming to class. Okay? Because it's just a matter of reading and understanding. Same lesson, King Datusena and his great work. They are grade 8 students. They can read and understand. Teacher is unnecessary there. So you get the students to do lower order thinking activities, remembering, understanding, and applying at home before coming to class. So out of class activities happen before coming to class. Okay? And then when they come to class, you call it in class. The lower order lot is done by the students on their own, and they come to class to do higher order thinking activities. Now, what are higher order thinking activities about that lesson? Because you get them to read, understand, and make notes and come. When they come to class, you get them to actually do a presentation on King Datusena and his great work, King Kashyapa and his great work. Then actually the students, they have to read on their own, right? Prepare for the classroom activities, which are higher order thinking. Is it possible, am I asking, getting the students to do lower order thinking activities on their own at home? Is it possible? Is possible? You have to respond to me. Is it possible?
In certain cases, it is okay, man. When the subject is tough, it's not applicable, no?
Yeah, and It doesn't mean that you have to be 365 days, you have to use flip method. But when it is applicable, when it is appropriate, you can use this. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to use 100% flip method only. No. When it is applicable, at least once a month, at least once in a week, that you can give them. Why? You can make the student an autonomous learner. They will learn on their own. They have their prior knowledge. They use the prior knowledge, read and analyze and collect data and present. So they are motivated to learn on their own. And ultimately, it's lower order thinking now. It's a waste, no? They come to class and do lower order thinking in class with the help of the teacher and go over to do higher order thinking on their own is a useless thing. Instead, if you can actually get them to do first out of class activities and engage in lower order thinking activities, and then be prepared to come to class, then after the out of class, they come to the class to do in-class activities which are to cater to higher order thinking. Otherwise, they never get a chance, like, do a presentation, to do a kind of drama, to talk, to write something report. They will never get a chance because teacher talking, explaining everything, the time is spent on that lower order thinking. But it's a waste because they have their prior knowledge. They are not empty vessels. So you have to. But if you ask your students, please do it and come, will they do that? Please read it and learn and come. Will they do that? Will they do that? You ask them, Samana teachers like next day our lesson will be King Kashyap and his great work. Please read it and come. You have to know what is there in the text. Will they do that?
Some will do.
Not everyone. Madam.
No, actually, not every one of them. And there is no focus also. There is no focus also. They can read and understand as much as they can. But it is not doing a lesson, no? Ehemanan, if you are using the flipped method, first you have to give them out of class activities for lower order thinking. If you are using the flip method, you have to give them out of class activities first, related to lower order thinking. For that, you have to use technology. That is a feature of the flipped classroom. You give them out of class activities for lower order thinking activities using technology. Using technology, right? It's a must. And then you have to guide them in lower order thinking activities. You can't just ask them, read it and come. And how can you do that? Right. You can send them through email, through WhatsApp, through LMS. They are all using internet, right? Using technology, right? And you can send them an audio recording by you. You can actually upload a video link and they can click on that. You don't just get them to watch it. Then there is no focus. So based on what you send as materials. Now you're sending materials using technology, no? In the flipped class, out of class activities before coming to in class. So you are using technology. So you're supposed to send them materials to listen or read. You're supposed to send them materials to listen or read. And just listening, just reading will not get them to learn anything. There's no focused learning. So you know what they're supposed to learn from that material. So for them to actually know the material, you have to give them an activity. While listening, while reading, while watching, they have to do an activity, 1 or 2 or 3. They are supposed to do. They are all cut and paste. What is meant by cut and paste? they can find the answer directly from the reading passage or the audio text or the video. They don't have to think and do. They are all lower order thinking. Any student can do that. Am I right?
Right, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. Now suppose you're a science teacher. So the lesson is the life cycle of a butterfly. In the traditional class, how does it happen? Students come to class. The teacher explains the life cycle of the butterfly. They are all lower order because students listen and learn the subject matter. And then you tell them go home and create a poster on life cycle of a butterfly, that is higher order. Okay, but it is done at home in the traditional class. Instead, the teacher can flip the class. The teacher first give them out of class activities. Before coming to class, they have to do lower order thinking activities. For that, you're using technology. So you're sending them a video. In that video, the life cycle of the butterfly is explained. So they are supposed to watch it. They are supposed to watch it. And then you give them an activity. In that activity, you have the life cycle of the butterfly. They have to name it. They have to name it. So they watch the life cycle of the butterfly and name it. So they have learned the subject matter on their own. Because they are not empty vessels. They can listen, understand, see, understand, and do something. They are cut and paste. Aluten itala karana දෙයක් නැහැ. Now, when they come to the class, in class, you can get them to engage in higher order thinking activities, like you analyzing, evaluating, and creating. They are actually, you get them to actually present the life cycle of the butterfly in a dramatic way, the way they like. So one group may actually create a kind of a presentation, and they come and talk about the life cycle of the butterfly. Different, they can work in groups as well. And then another group might do a poster on life cycle of the butterfly. And then another group can actually do a drama on life cycle of butterfly. Like that, they will decide how they are going to actually talk about the life cycle of the butterfly. They engage in cooperative learning and creativity, using the knowledge. Now they are producing something more than what they know, the subject matter. That is the flipped classroom. Ask you, okay, do you understand?
Yeah, ma'am.
So now the thing is, you have to think of ways of using the flipped classroom in your class. That is the challenge. Now look at this. In what way can the flipped classroom help improve the learning process? It allows more time for students' active participation in class. නැත්තම් පන්තිට ඇවිල්ලා ටීචර් කියලා දෙන cut and paste කරුණු ටික ආගෙන ඉඳලා යනවානේ. But here, when you flip the classroom, in-class activities are for higher order and active participation. It's an advantage. Second one, it allows more practical-oriented learning process. It's not just sit and wait, listen. It promotes cooperative learning because they come to class to engage in group work, because more creative, advanced activities based on what they have learned on their own. It enhances self-regulated learning, autonomous learning. So when you send them materials through technology, they are supposed to do it and come. And you as just send them activities, and whether they do it or not, you're not going to actually ignore that. You can ask them, right, you have to do this activity and send it to me before in-class activity. And you're supposed to collect them online and then mark them. If not, you can, based on the text, that you can give them MCQs. Then they can do MCQs and they can check their answers, whether they are right or wrong. And the teacher gets the calculation. She has got 10 out of 20, one has got 19 out of 20, like that. Because that is technology, it's possible. You are checking whether they are doing it at home. Okay? It provides room for students' innovation and creativity. As I said you, now it's factual, no life cycle of the butterfly. But when they actually learn it on their own by watching a video and completing the life cycle diagram sent by the teacher, they come to know what it is. And when they come to class, you can give them choices. So one can actually act out, one can actually, they will play music, dance, and act it out the various stages of the life cycle of the butterfly. And they are very creative. One may actually design a nice poster. We don't know. And they will actually come and talk about it. So they will develop their communication skills, verbal and non-verbal. So it leads to creativity, no? And then it ensures maximum use of LMS materials, if not technology, you can say. Technology, okay? Right. What are the challenges to be overcome in the application of flipped classroom model? When you want to use the flipped classroom, there are challenges. It is something said easier than done. What are the challenges? Culture shock. මොකද culture shock කියලා කියන්නේ? What is meant by culture shock? කවුරු හරි guess කරන්න? What is meant by culture shock? Culture shock is one of the main problems that we will face as the teacher when you want to actually මොකද culture shock කියලා කියන්නේ? What is culture shock? අනේ කතා කරන්නකෝ අනේ තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ හරි කියන්නකෝ. Culture shock කියලා කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේ වගේ දෙයක්. Now your students are not used to this. They are used to come and listen to the teacher and get the subject matter from the teacher. But when you actually give something like this by flipping the traditional class, they are not used to it. They are not used to it. Right. So they are not used to it, right? They are not used to it. Because of that, they will not actually do it willingly initially. So the teacher has to actually motivate them a lot to engage, do some activities and come and check whether they are doing and giving feedback and all that, because it's not easily accepted because they are used to just come and listen to the teacher and go home. So that is what is meant by culture shock. Okay. And then learner preparation and learner accountability. That means you can't help it if the learner's not doing it properly. If the learners are cheating, ඒගොල්ලන් බොරුවට කරා වගේ අනුන්ගෙන් උත්තර අරගෙන ඉන්නවා. You can't help it. So it's a challenge. Learner preparation and learner accountability is a contributing factor, and it's a challenge because the teacher doesn't know whether they are genuinely doing it. Unreliable internet, because the lot activities to be done out of class before coming to class, they are all actually sent using internet, WhatsApp, emails and LMS and all that. If this digital device is a problem, some do not have access, some do not have steady connection. I also have sometimes in Colombo this problem, right? So unreliable internet also will be a challenge, right? You have to overcome this. It's not easy to conduct flip method because students are not used to it because of the culture shock. And then you do not know actually whether the students are doing it honestly. So learner preparation and accountability is a question. And then unreliable internet. They are the challenges that the teacher has to face. Now, teacher in the flipped classroom. FLIP stands, it's an acronym now, okay? FLIP. F stands for flexibility. Both the teacher and the students matter, take their matters into consideration. You have to be flexible, right? Because students, they have different abilities, different economical status, different attitudes. So, and all that.
நீங்க முந்தி எல்லாம் தேடுவாங்க
And then, L for length, then the time through out of class activities and by learner centered. So you can make use of classroom time for more innovative, creative, and active participation. So you are lengthening the time that you have for the lesson by giving them lot activities to be done before class at home. So you can actually lengthen the time by actually giving them lower order thinking activities to be done at home. Then I involve students' activities throughout. That is what you are going to do, no? At home, they are doing lower order thinking activities. In the class, they are doing hot activities, higher order thinking activities. So students' involvement is high in the flip method. Then professionalism. Actually, this is maximized learning by the teacher, making the learner autonomous learner, and a teacher shows professionalism by organizing flipped classroom because you are a highly student-centered teacher. So this is not easy to plan a flip method class, but you are doing it because you are a professional. So the final P is for professionalism of the teacher. So this is something said easier than done. So I want classroom examples of the flipped method. So summary of flip method is you have lot and hot. Lot කියන්නේ මොනවටද? What does it stand for?
Low order thinking.
Activities. Hot,
Higher order thinking.
yeah, very good. And then you have to talk about in class and out of class activities, right? In the flip method. So in class activities and out of class. So flip method begins with out of class activities for lower order thinking, right? And then they come for in class for higher order activities. That is how the flip method works. It's actually putting the traditional classroom upside down. So we will have to look at some more example of the flipped method. So let me actually find an example for you. I might be having some, right, give me a second. I might be having some students work on the flip method. Let me see. Let me see. All right, here. Let's see, yeah. Wait. I will go for a better one. Let's see whether this is a good one because I have not gone through it. I'm not just opening. No, that is actually badly commented by me. So this is not the one. Give me a second. I want to open a good one. Let's see. Right. I'm sharing it with you. This is students' work, so I don't say it's 100% good, but we can critically analyze. This is a flipped method English lesson. Okay? Can you see what I'm sharing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Right.
So the student says it's a grade 5 class. So the grade 5s are very young, but still she wants to use flip method with them. Possible, right? Possible, because actually if they have the right attitude, then they will actually be sent some work. They are cut and paste. Read or watch or see and then do cut and paste. So let's see how she actually has done that. A very beautiful song written about Sri Lanka called This Land Belongs to You conveys information to the student about their motherland. Okay. The YouTube link for This Land Belongs to You. So then watch the video and complete the song. To view the video, click on the link. The students are supposed to do it at home. Grade 5s, of course, they can now. Okay. This land belongs to you. So they listen or watch and then complete. Okay, right. This is done at home. Then write the missing vowels. These words are seen in the song. So write the missing vowel. I learned and all that. Okay. And then hot activities once they come to class. Instructing the students to sing the song and dance together. All students participate together in the activity. Group 2, the students are divided into groups and asked to draw a poster on the topic of motherland and present it to the class. Use pastels, platinums, and pens. Not a very good one. This is how she has planned her flip method. Though not a very good one. Okay. Okay. Now let me find another one for you from some other subject. Okay. I will get one from mathematics. Okay. I will get one from mathematics. Let's see, open this and say. Right. I have to share it with you and see whether this is proper. Yeah, this is the one. So you can see it's student work, so it's not perfect. So she's going to teach mathematics for grade 7. Can you see what I'm sharing?
Yeah, ma'am.
Operations and whole numbers. Operations and whole numbers, it's a mathematics lesson. She's going to use the flip method. On a pre-activity. Watch the video. She's going to send it through WhatsApp and complete the activities. When they watch this video, place a tick next to correct statement and a X next to incorrect statement. So after watching that, they come to know. And then after that, they have to put a tick. In class activities, simplify the following expression using BODMAS, I think, rule. So they learn about this BODMAS, bracket of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction by watching the video. It says which has to be actually done first and all that. So brackets, I think brackets are done first. Am I right? Mathematics paper?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. So this is actually the child learns it by watching after watching it, and then the child is made to do that. Okay, but I prefer after watching it, rather than giving the child to solve problems like this, if the statements are given, right, in Bodman application, in a sum, if you are to apply, the brackets are maze, අපි කියන මොනවද ඒකට කියන්නේ solved. The brackets are done first or solved first.
Solve the brackets first.
Solve the brackets first. Like that, you give them some statements and ask them to put a tick if it is right, put a cross if it is wrong. That could have been better. Why? It is directly from the video. You get my point? It is directly from the video. So it is actually it helps them to actually think twice about this Bodman or whatever, and then be thorough with it. And then as it's a grade 7 class, this also okay. But before that, after that, the video is about this Bodman, how to actually do the solve the problems. Now that order, you can actually give statement and ask them to put it right or wrong. You get my point? That could have been better. Get my point? තේරෙනවද නැද්දානේ?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Then ඊළඟට අපි තව maths එකක් බලමුද? They are all my students' work, හොඳේ? Right. Let me actually see another one. Don't know the ones I'm opening are good or bad. Let's see. We can see. Okay. And here, Subhashini. Is that Subhashini? Let's see. Yeah. In that one, you have mathematics. No, I tell you another topic. Okay. Again, she has actually sent a video. Watch the video and answer the questions. So they can watch and they can answer directly from the video, cut and paste ones. Okay. And then in the class, there are difficult ones for them to do in groups. Okay, now I will actually get you to look at science one also if available. Let me see. Yeah, science is also there. Let's open one and see. Right. A fair attempt කියලා තියෙන්නේ. So it can't be a good one. Okay. So I will go for another one because I have commented as it's just a fair one. Kela. Ravindran, see. Good එකක් තියෙනවා. So we can actually see how she has done කියලා. Okay. Good. The last one I'm showing you, it's a science lesson. So this is grade 8 photosynthesis. Grade 8 photosynthesis. Pre-activity materials, that is out of class. Before coming to class, you have, she has sent 3 links. Okay. She has sent 3 worksheets on photosynthesis. Worksheets on photosynthesis. So based on these videos, they have to actually answer these questions that she has sent. So this is grade 8. So they can watch the video about photosynthesis and they can answer what is photosynthesis definition. What are the products of photosynthesis? So they have to watch the videos and answer these questions. Then you can actually ask them to send me the answers also. I will mark it for you. Then before coming to class, you know that your students know the subject matter. Then classroom activity. Drawing a rough sketch of the plant as in the video and illustrating using arrows how the process of photosynthesis occurs. That is hot activity. So they can be done in a creative manner also. They can be done in groups also. Now they know how photosynthesis happens. Subject matter is learned on their own at home. Now they are actually coming to class to do more creative activities. That is how she has planned. Let's see. Classroom activity materials. Drawing the plant on a rough sheet and labeling how the photosynthesis process takes place. Experiment to observe the plant leaf stores food produced by photosynthesis. Experiment to observe the plant produces oxygen as a product of photosynthesis. So you are going to get them to use that knowledge and do classroom experiments. So step 1, drawing a rough sketch of the plant as the video illustrates. Step 2, setting up laboratory apparatus and performing the experiment to observe that oxygen will be produced by the photosynthesis process. The bubbles that are released can be seen passing through the test tube of oxygen. Students will be taught that oxygen is the collector at the end of the test tube. Step 3, students are divided into groups, given some leaves to perform the experiment to see that glucose is stored in the form of starch within leaves. The leaf will be boiled in water and then in alcohol and then lastly washed off in cold water. Few drops of iodine reagent will be added on to the leaf placed on a white tile. Students will be briefed on the importance of each step. So based on photosynthesis, laboratory experiments are conducted in the classroom. So that is a better approach, and the subject matter, how photosynthesis happens and all that, they can actually learn it on their own by watching the video and answering the teacher's questions. That is enough. So what do you think about this approach? Method, flip method, is it applicable? Is it applicable?
Yeah, ma'am, it is sometime will be interesting also, no, for the students.
Yeah, your students, you have to actually change their mindset also. Because every time they come to class, just listen to the teacher and it's just the subject matter. There's nothing for creativity or higher order thinking or problem solving. Just the basic facts that the teacher explains and go home with never done homework, like, writing and speaking and posters and all that. Because if they are to do those things, they have to work as a group, share knowledge, and in an interesting way. That doesn't happen because they are set as homework in the traditional class. So now you have to think that would be my assignment for you this time. Okay, that is why I took a lot of time. My assignment will be either this or ඊළඟට I'm කරනවා the next day jigsaw method කියලා එකක්. Okay, today also I can do it because there are about 45 more minutes. So I can do that jigsaw method also. So either flip method or jigsaw method, that you have to think of a lesson to be done in the class using either flip method or jigsaw method. So flip method is this. So if you are actually doing the flip method, you have to first think of out of class activity, material for lower order thinking. Okay, so material and activity. For cut and paste questions, ඒ බල read කරන එක හරි වීඩියෝ එකේ හරි තියෙන දේ විතරයි. ඊට වැඩි අමතර දෙයක් අහන්නේ නැහැ ඔයා. Cut and paste කියලා කියන්නේ ඒකයි. ඊළඟට they come to class. They are hot activities, higher order, creativity, imagination, cooperation, right? Application, analysis, presentations. එතකොට ඒවා තමයි කරන්නේ. Group work. හැබැයි ඒවා higher order. එතකොට group work එකක් විදිහට කරන්නේ. Play act එකක්, නැත්නම් presentation එකක්, නැත්නම් debate එකක්, ඒ වගේ. Based on what they learned as the subject matter at home. එක higher order in class. For higher order in class. Okay? එතකොට මම guidelines එවනවා. So you have to prepare activities and send. Do the assignment. If not, I'm doing the next method I'm doing is jigsaw method. ඒකත් හරි modern method එකක්. Jigsaw method එක. එතකොට අපි ඒකත් හැමදාම හැම lesson එකම you can't be teaching using jigsaw. But when applicable, you can use these methods කියන එක තමයි කියන්නේ, because they are highly student centered. So students are active, students develop their 4Cs, students are motivated, students become autonomous learners. All these things happen when you use these new methods. Okay, so enough for the flip method. Any questions on the flip method before I move to the next method, that is jigsaw method?
Madam, I
Mhm.
have a small clarification.
Yes, yes.
Madam, when we are doing our teaching method using the flip method, first it should be the lot activities, right?
Yeah,
And then after that, we have to bring out the hot activities.
yeah. Lot
Okay.
activities first. Where? In class or out of class?
Out.
Out of class. So, physical or technology?
Technology.
Technology. Lot or hot?
It is lot, ma'am.
Lot. Very good. So, when they come to class, that is in
Be-
class, it is
yeah.
hot.
Hot.
Development of 4 skills, communication, cooperation, critical thinking, that kind of activities. The group work, presentations, debates, and all that, based on what they learn on their own as the subject matter, that is in class. In class,
Yeah.
hot
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
activities. Yeah, that is it. That is how that you have to think about it. So you have to be a little bit of creative in order to plan a beautiful flip lesson. Okay, but time to time, not everyday basis, that you can introduce these things because they are highly student centered. The students are motivated, they are active participants. It helps them to develop their 21st century sees creativity, communication, cooperation, because they work with others and all that. Okay. They come and present, so communication skills, they come and write, the communication skills, they all are actually developed in the child. Otherwise, it won't happen, no? They just come and listen to the teacher's hard facts. There's nothing new. What is there in the book only explained, and they go home. And you set some work to be done on their own individually. So there is hardly any time for cooperation, creativity, or anything. Because of that, this flip method is accepted as a very effective method to promote student autonomy, student participation, active participation, and blah, blah, blah. It's highly student-centered. So though not every day that you can think of using them, okay? So that is one. Now we are getting into another method, that is jigsaw method. Are you ready for the jigsaw method?
Yes.
Adams, right. Okay, let's see. Now I am getting you to look at the jigsaw method. For that, I have to close this. I have to close this. I have to close this. And I have to go to my desktop. Educational technology, and open this, and jigsaw activities. Let's see. Here, what are jigsaw activities? Is it being shared with you?
Not
No,
yet,
ma'am,
ma'am.
we can.
Not yet. Right. Okay. Now we are looking at jigsaw activities. Now, when it comes to jigsaw activities, you call it information gap activity කියලා. You can make notes, right, when you're listening to me. Jigsaw activities are information gap activities. මොකද මේ information gap activity කියලා කියන්නේ? Right. You get the students to work in groups or pairs. right? You get students to work in groups or pairs. And you actually create information gap. That means now suppose in a group that you have 3 people, A, B, and C. So what A knows, B and C, they don't know. What B knows, A and C, they don't know. What C knows, A and B do not know about that piece of information. So you create information gap between and among the group members. Once you create that information gap between and among group members, what happens? You give them an activity based on all the information. The information that A has, B has, and C has. Right? Once it is actually collected, all the information that A, B, C have, based on that, you give them an activity. Now what happens? Some information only A knows. Some information only B knows. Some information only C knows. So that they have to talk to each other. Am I right? To get information in order to do the activity based on all the information. That is the basic of jigsaw. Do you understand?
A common question is given for all 3 people, and then we are separating, or else are we giving another topic for each of 3, ma'am?
Another topic means?
A common question is being given.
Right.
While
No. I did not discuss the jigsaw activity yet. But I told you what happens in jigsaw activity. Jigsaw kiyala kiyanne parts come together. So there are 4 people in the group now, right? Some parts are with A, some parts are with B, some parts are with C, some parts are with D. But the question or the activity that they have to do, they can't do only with what A has, only with what B has. They have to actually know all the information that possessed by all the 4 members. So they have to discuss with each other in order to do the activity. Am I right?
all should be gathered together to do the activity.
Yeah. But anyway, there are ways of actually uh, conducting jigsaw activities. So let me actually talk to you about it by showing this.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sorry, ma'am. When we group students, should a teacher consider the levels? I mean, when talking about A, B, C, and D, A don't know. A may don't. A may doesn't know. May don't know, and B also, and C and D. Then, how a gap be filled?
Yeah.
I mean,
Let me talk to you. It all depends. Now you're talking about grouping technique. Okay.
Yeah.
When you group students, you can actually use 2 strategies. One is same ability groups. All the good ones are in one group, all the weak ones are in one group, all the average in another group, like that, same ability groups. If not, different ability groups. Different ability groups like good ones, weak ones, average ones, all in one group. Right? It's a grouping technique. හැබැයි ඒක ඔයාට decide කරගන්න පුළුවන්. Whether I'm going to have same ability groups or different ability groups කියලා. You understand?
Right, teacher has to consider that. Neither.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Thank you, ma'am.
there are no hard and fast rules about it. But I think with the jigsaw activity, you can actually go for mixed ability. Let's see why. Let's see why. Okay. Now, when you conduct jigsaw activities, right? When you conduct jigsaw reading activities, it can be reading, it can be writing, whatever. It can be any subject. I don't think in mathematics nam puluwanda manda, but there are possibilities, right? Even if it is a science lesson, it is possible. Even if it is language class, it's possible. So this is what you are supposed to do. Now, suppose it's a history lesson, right? In that history lesson, you're supposed to teach in 40 minutes, that you see you have about King, give me a name of King Kashyapa. You have an article about King Kashyapa. So you read it and see, it can be chunked into 4 sensible parts. It can be chunked into 4 sensible parts. කොහොමද ඔයා ඒක chunk කරන්නේ? දැන් lesson එක sensible වලට එක කෑල්ලක කියන්නේ family, his family, right? Who is the father, who is the mother, who are brothers and all that. It's about his family. Second part එකේ කියනවා his great work, his great work. And third part එකේ කියනවා තව මොනවද තියෙන්න පුළුවන් එකේ? එයාගේ family එක ගැන, එයාගේ great work එක ගැන. Third part එක his sad ending. His sad ending. Okay, how he died and all that. So you put it into 3. So you can see easily it can be divided into 3. So now you decide, now you decide, I'm going to make it jigsaw, right? They should do a jigsaw activity based on that. So you want, as the reading text about King Kashyapa is put into 3 parts, sensible parts by the teacher, that is you want the jigsaw groups that you form, right? That you are going to form jigsaw groups now. They should have 3 members in the group. Each jigsaw group should have 3 members. Why? Because you have 3 parts for the lesson. So, අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් jigsaw group එකට කියනවා family group කියලා. Jigsaw group එකට අපි කියනවා family group කියලා. එතකොට family group කියලා ගත්තොත් father, mother, if there are 3 only, the daughter or son, the child. If there are 4, you can say father, mother, son and daughter, like that. That is how it is used. But anyway, we use jigsaw, then A and B and C, because your lesson has only 3 parts. Suppose you have another lesson. It's an English lesson. It's about nature. So you can see, you can divide it into 4 parts. First part is the introduction, what is nature. Second part is what nature gives mankind. Third part, how people pollute it. And fourth part, how to preserve nature. So very sensible. So you think of putting that text into 4 parts. Then in the jigsaw group, how many members should be there? How many members? 4 should be there. Right. Now you first take the reading material and then you divide sensibly into parts. And according to the number of parts that you have, you should form jigsaw groups with the exact number of the parts of the lesson. ඒ ටික පැහැදිලිද?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Then the second step. Now you distribute the parts of the lesson to the jigsaw members. Now suppose you have a class of 20 students. You have a class of 20 students. So you chunk your reading passage into 4. How many jigsaw groups will be there in the class?
4.
How come?
5.
5, yes.
4 into
4
5,
members
5.
in a jigsaw group, 4 into 5, 20. So there will be 5 jigsaw groups. And each jigsaw group will be having 1, 2, 3, 4 members. Okay. Now you distribute part 1 to number 1, part 2 to number 2, part 3 to number 3, part 4 to number 4. Right. Now you have a class of 20. Your jigsaw group has 4 members because your lesson has 4 parts. You have 5 jigsaw groups. Now your next turn is get them to form expert groups. get them to form expert groups. මොකද මේ expert group කියලා කියන්නේ? Now you know there are 5 jigsaw groups. So how many number ones are there? Part ones are there. How many part
5.
ones are there? 5.
5.
How many part twos are there?
5.
How many part threes are there? 5. So now you get all the part 1 members to come together as one expert group. All part 2s join as one expert group. They are part 2 expert group. Then part 3, those who have part 3, all the member 3s, 5 of them, they form another expert group. Like that, how many expert groups will be formed now in that example? How many
4.
expert groups will be formed?
4.
4.
4,
4
definitely.
expert groups.
In one expert group, how many members will be there?
5
Five,
members.
five. Now that is the second part. Now, when they form the expert groups, you have to give them activities to do in their expert groups. And by doing the activities in their expert groups, they become experts in the component that they have. Okay. Now you take the expert group of part 1. There are 5 members. All the 5 members have that part 1 of the lesson. So you have to actually set an activity for them. They do the activity and become expert about what is there in part 1. So they come to know the subject matter by doing the activity. And there are, in this example, there are several heads. So they can quickly do and come to know the subject matter and experts in that part. So I have a question. In that particular example of having 4 expert groups, the teacher has to design how many activities? Same activity for all the groups or different activities for each group?
Different activities for each group. So altogether there has to
Definitely,
be
yes.
4.
That is the challenge. Different activities for each group. So if you are to actually give different activities for each group based on that part. So it's a small part, definitely. Then they get together and do that and come to know what it is. They become experts. That is also not alone. There are 5 or several people in the group, expert group, and they become experts in that subject matter by doing the activity. But the teacher has a challenge. She has to actually produce different activities based on the information that the child gets. You have to prepare different activities for each of the expert groups. But right, very nice. Then you come to the students do the activity and they become experts, teacher monitors, and then the teacher gets them to go back to their which group? Jigsaw or the family group. Now when they go back to their family groups, what group member 1 knows, the rest of the family, 2 or 3 or 4, they don't know what it is about. What family number 2 knows, family number 1, 3 and 4, they are ignorant. Am I right?
Yes. Ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, of course, you have to give the jigsaw group or the family group an activity based on the whole text, all the parts. Based on the whole text, all the parts. So this time the teacher has to develop different activities, or the same activity can be given to all the jigsaw groups.
Same activity can be given.
Same activity can be given. If she wants, different activities also can be developed, but she can easily give the same activity because it's based on the whole reading text, right? Okay, now for them to do this, there's an information gap created. What A knows, B, C, D, they don't know. What B knows, A, C, and D, they don't know. But for you to do the activity, it's based on all A, B, C, D. Because of that, you have to actually talk to each other. Am I right?
Yeah.
You have to actually work with each other. Talk to each other, work with each other, and all that. So the activity which is based on the whole text. What are the advantages of organizing an activity like this? Tell me. What are the advantages? Why should we do that?
The knowledge can be shared.
Yeah, basically, it promotes cooperative learning. Am I right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it promotes cooperative learning. Is it only promoting cooperative learning? It actually develops their communicative abilities as well. Am I right? Because they have to talk to each other. So their communication also develops. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Then it is highly student-centered. 21st century sees cooperation is promoted, communication is promoted. And you can easily actually develop their creativity also. You can ask them based on the whole text, you can ask them to do something creative also. So because of that, this jigsaw method is very effective in student-centered classroom. It will definitely add variety to your classroom. So it's not only in language class. So even if it is science lesson that they have to read and understand, even if it is history lesson that they can read and understand, you can actually divide them into pieces, chunk it, and then get them to form jigsaw groups. And then the expert groups do the activities, become experts in their part, come back to their jigsaw group and talk to each other, share knowledge, and do the activity based on the whole text. Language class, history, science, whatever that they have to read and learn, they can easily do this. Even mathematics class, it will be possible. Is it only reading? No, jigsaw is not only for reading. It can be for listening, it can be for speaking, right? It can be for writing also. Now, suppose it's a language class. So you're a language teacher, that you want your students to write an essay. The essay on environment. So you can actually go jigsaw. You will think of, I want you to write this essay in 4 paragraphs. Introduction, where you explain what nature is, what nature gives mankind, how we pollute nature, and what actions to be taken to preserve it. So there are 4 paragraphs that you want them to write. So you can decide jigsaw groups having 4 members. So you put them into jigsaw groups and give them para 1, para 2, para 3, para 4. And then get all the para 1s to be in one expert group. All the para 2s to be in one two expert group 2, like that. And then give them an activity to brainstorm the content, what you're going to write there. So they are going to discuss what they are going to write in the first paragraph, all para 1 people in the expert group. Para 2 people will discuss what we get from our environment, and they jot it down in point form. The third para, how we pollute it, they discuss and point form they write. And the 4th para, how to preserve it. Now, they come back to their expert groups. They put all the information together. They develop para 1, para 2, para 3, and para 4. They have to talk to each other to do that in the jigsaw or the family group. So that is how you can use it in writing. Am I right?
Yes.
So why not? It's not only language class, as I told you. There are many subjects that you can easily use this jigsaw method with. So you can actually use these activities, not every day. When it is possible, when it is feasible, why not that you will do something like that and get the students to be more student-centered, and develop their communication, cooperation. They are the 21st century skills, and just the subject matter alone will not help them meet the demands of the 21st century education. Got it? You got it?
Yeah.
Let me actually show you a kind of I need 1 minute. Okay, let's see whether I'm having it. You can use it easily with listening as well, you know. Jigsaw as a technique. I'm sharing the PowerPoint now. It's actually a jigsaw method. Okay, it's taken as a method. What is meant by information gap? An information gap activity is an activity where learners are missing the information they need to complete a task and need to talk to each other to find it. So that's the simple rule there, okay? The two groups in jigsaw activities, family, home, or jigsaw groups, expert groups. There are two types of groups that we want in the jigsaw method. Steps of conducting a jigsaw lesson. Can you see this PowerPoint I'm sharing?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you do jigsaw activity? I explain it. Can one of you read the 6 steps?
Step 1, divide the students into groups of 4 to 6 people per group. 6 people per group.
Yeah. Yeah. Continue.
Step 2, divide your content into 4 to 6 chunks. Step 3, assign one chunk of content to each person in the jigsaw group. Step 4, have students meet in expert groups. Step 5, students return to jigsaw groups. Step 6, assess all students on all the content.
Right. Very good. So that I have explained now, so you understand. Okay. Now here family groups. Now it's a class of how many students? Look at this and tell me. It's a class of how many students?
Is it 24? 24
Yeah,
students?
24. So the lesson is chunked into how many parts?
4 parts.
4 parts. That
4.
is why in the family group we have 4 members. Very good. So now expert groups. As there are 24 students in the class and the lesson is chunked into 4. So jigsaw groups having 4 members. So expert groups are having 6 members. 4 expert groups, right? For the part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. What are the advantages? Jigsaw helps students to learn cooperation, as group members share responsibility for each other's learning by using critical thinking and social skills to complete an assignment. Subsequently, this strategy helps to improve listening, communication, problem solving, cooperation, all soft skills, right? Okay. So that is the advantage. That is what I have to actually do for jigsaw activities. It's not only for reading. I showed you an example of jigsaw writing. It's not only in the language class, right? Suppose that you give them, it's a history class. So you get the students to write about ruins in Anuradhapura. So you can actually get the students to, you want them to write about 5 ruins in Anuradhapura. So there are 5 ruins. So because of that, you are going to form jigsaw groups of 5 members. And then you actually get all the member ones. They are writing about one place, one ruin. So they get together and actually talk what they are going to write. And then ruin 2 is this member 2. And when they actually discuss what they are going to write, they come back to their own group. And now they get together and in their family groups, jigsaw group, they write upon 5 ruins in Anuradhapura. So that is how it happens. So that is, yes. So that is about jigsaw. Even listening can be done like that. So you want them to listen to listening passages in 4 chunks or 3 chunks. So 3 members in the family groups. And then they form the expert groups. You play the listening for them. And then they listen to it and do an activity based on that part. And then they come back to their jigsaw groups. And then there is an activity based on the whole listening passage. So they have to communicate with each other, share their knowledge, and work with each other in order to complete the task. So that is, so listening, reading, writing, they happen not only in language class. That also you have to keep in, even in science, even in mathematics, that you get them to read, you get them to write, you get them to listen. So definitely that you can actually use jigsaw activities in any of those subjects that you, any subject that you take. That also I want to make it very clear. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now next day, I will actually talk to you about project method. This project method. And then after project method, we can go to techniques. Now methods are discussed. Now we can go to techniques. Techniques like grouping, questioning, brainstorming, storytelling. They are techniques that we use in the classroom. So after having a small discussion about 10 minutes, spending 10 minutes on the project method, I will move on to my next topic, that is techniques in the classroom. So we will finish it off next day, techniques. Then once techniques are done, we have to get into writing lesson plans. So teaching models and writing lesson plans. They are PPP model and 5E model, Bloom's taxonomy. So that is how that we are going to develop our kind of continue to cover our syllabus. So next day it will be project method. After that, we move on to techniques. Under techniques, I will discuss questioning as a technique, grouping as a technique, brainstorming as a technique, storytelling as a technique, etc. Okay. Role play as a technique, drilling as a technique, like that. So that is the plan for the next week. Now we have only about 10 minutes. Any questions? Any questions? Now most of you all are teachers, am I right?
Yes, madam.
So you are actually products of these colleges of education. Where did you get your teacher training? Hmm? කතා කරන්න කොහොමද?
College of
College.
Education.
Where? Which college of education?
Adala Chennai.
I didn't get you.
Adala Chennai.
It's Tamil area.
Yes.
You're a Tamil medium student.
No, English medium, madam.
What's your subject?
Science.
Science. So there you have an English medium teacher training college, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So do you see now, being a science teacher, do you see that possibility of using flipped method and jigsaw method in your science teaching?
Yes, madam. The Cripps method is more useful to teach.
Science. But you can
Yes.
try jigsaw method also.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm. Then it's possible because in any subject that you teach, you get them to listen, you get them to read, you get them to speak. No, you get them to write. Whatever the subject that you teach. Am I right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
because of that, jigsaw is applicable. Jigsaw is applicable. The only thing is that you have to be a bit creative. Out of the box thinking is needed for you to plan some such a lesson.
Mm.
Right. So when you were in teacher training college, did you do methodology subject?
Yes, madam.
Through all these teacher centered, student centered, then methods, those are covered, right?
Yes, madam.
But now can't
ma'am.
remember. එහෙමද?
Yes.
So how many lesson plans that you had to write?
You mean in nowadays?
No, no, no. When you were in the teacher training college, you were sent for this internship, no? යවනවනේ ඉස්කෝලවල උගන්වන්න. You were sent, no?
Yes, madam.
So you were supposed to actually write lesson plans and collection of lesson plans are evaluated. Am I right?
Mm.
How many lesson plans? You were supposed to write how many lesson plans? Hmm?
55 lessons for each week.
So altogether, how many you wrote? එහෙමනේ කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ 100 lesson plans. එහෙම කියලා කියනවා. How
And-
ඒ කියන්නේ 1 year තිබුණාද ඔයාලගේ internship?
Yes, madam.
Then of course it gets into more than 100 it seems, no?
Yes, madam.
Right. Okay, then I just wanted to actually stop my teaching for the day. It's 9:25. So shall we meet next day? Then thank you for joining. Shall we stop?
Okay, madam. Thank
Right.
you.
Have you, did I send you the materials? No, no. What I used last week? No.
No, madam.
So I will actually through the campus, I will send you first week and second week lecture materials to you. So you can go through them and be ready for the assignment. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Right. Okay. I'm going to end the meeting.
Thank you very much, ma'am.